You can train harder, eat cleaner, and still shrink if this hormone is elevated. Cortisol is the hormone that decides either you will gonna build muscle or lose it. Either you burn fat or store it. For the ones who are new to my channel, I'm Dr. Nash Jocic, former bodybuilding champion. I competed 46 times and won 17 titles. I've been in bodybuilding for over 40 years. And during that time, I have personally coached over 3,500 clients and helped them to get in the best shape of their lives. I have also published 11 ebooks for you, which are fully loaded with detailed information that explain everything that you always wanted to know about bodybuilding. Things like muscle growth, fat loss, training split, number of sets, number of reps, nutrition, lifestyle change, and much, much more. So if you want to expand your knowledge and widen your horizons, please click on the link below and you can access my ebooks. Today we are talking about one of the most misunderstood hormones, actually one of the most important and most powerful hormones in the human body, and this is cortisol. So cortisol can simply save your life or can ruin your body. It can also help you grow muscles, or it can melt your muscles away. It can give you energy, or it can leave you tired, inflamed, storing fat, and aging faster. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what cortisol does, why most people today are actually stuck in this overproduction of cortisol, how to lower it, and how to allow your body to finally become willing to burn body fat, build muscle, recover, and feel alive again. Cortisol is a survival hormone. It's not necessarily just a bad hormone, as most of the people link cortisol with something negative. Oh, cortisol is high, you produce too much cortisol. Well, but you need to understand, this is actually a survival hormone. It comes from adrenal glands, which are tiny glands on top of your kidneys, and has one job, is simply to keep you alive in a threat. So cortisol is critical hormone in those situations that we call fight or flight situations. So what happens when cortisol rises in the body? First of all, it releases glucose into the bloodstream, increases blood pressure, increases heart rate, simply preparing you for an action, for a sudden threat or a sudden action. Also shut down digestion. When cortisol is up, digestion is shut down. Also shut down muscle growth, shut down reproduction, and sends all resources for immediate survival. So this is not a bad thing. Cortisol is not a bad hormone. Cortisol is simply essential. Without cortisol, you won't be able to wake up in the morning, you could not focus, and you could not respond to danger. Now the problem is that cortisol was designed only for the short bursts and not for 24/7 modern stress. So cortisol is essential, is necessary, but is designed only when it's needed. Unfortunately, most of the people today are constantly exposed to elevated cortisol because of the stress, because of anxiety, wrong diets, overtraining, and similar causes. So how cortisol relates to muscles? Cortisol is a catabolic hormone. It breaks down muscle tissue, so you have to remember that. So when cortisol rises in your body, what it does, it breaks down muscles into amino acids and then converts amino acids into glucose and uses that glucose for emergency fuel. This is good, like during the workout, during that short period of time. During training, cortisol simply mobilizes energy, increases focus, increases fight or flight situation, and lets you push through every single hard set that you are performing. And this is why cortisol is necessary for your workouts, for your intense workouts. But if cortisol stays elevated after the workout or stays high all day long, the body never switches into repair mode. Meaning you train, you break down muscle tissue, but you never build it back. So it's very important to understand that the role of cortisol, yes, is necessary for the short bursts when you need it, but after that, the cortisol level has to go down and it has to allow the body to start rebuilding, to start growing. Muscle is built when cortisol is low and when the growth hormones like testosterone, IGF-1, growth hormone, and mTOR becomes activated. So you need, for all of this, you need cortisol to go down. If cortisol never drops, muscles never get that permission to grow. So how cortisol relates to fat? Most people think that fat is the caloric problem. But fat, I have explained it in many videos, fat is not caloric problem, it's the hormonal problem. So you need a different hormonal setup in the body in order to burn fat and also in order to store fat. Now, cortisol is one of the biggest fat storage hormones in your body, and especially belly fat. So when cortisol increases, insulin rises, fat is stored, and especially around your stomach, lower back and chest. So if you are having more body fat around your waist, around stomach, and on your chest, you are producing too much cortisol. So you most likely have elevated cortisol throughout the day. And the reason for that is the constantly elevated cortisol simply says to your body, we are in danger, store energy. Because your body doesn't know if you are really in danger or not. But if cortisol is constantly elevated, that seems the signals that the body is constantly in danger, which is not true. But this is how body responds to constantly elevated cortisol. And this is, again, so important to make sure that after the necessary burst of cortisol, for example, like your workouts, the rest of the day should be lived as such that your cortisol levels go down. So even if you eat clean, you train hard, you count calories, you're avoiding sugar, you're avoiding too much carbohydrates, but your cortisol is still chronically high, you will not lose body fat. So you cannot simply beat cortisol. Constantly elevated cortisol cannot be overrun with clean diet, correct workouts, and also counting calories and avoiding sugars. So cortisol has to be lowered in a different way. So what happens when your cortisol stays elevated on a daily basis for months or for years? So the following things happen. First of all, you will experience muscle loss. Second, you're going to accumulate body fat. Third, you are going to lose libido. Fourth, you're going to experience low testosterone. Your sleep will suffer. You will experience anxiety. You're going to experience also brain fog, high blood pressure, then also insulin resistance, and at the end, weakened immune system. So you see how bad consequences high elevated cortisol over the period of time can cause to you. And when all this is happening, your body has constantly been told, do not repair, do not burn fat, simply survive. And this is why people feel tired in the morning, wired at night, never fully rested, and always craving sugar and caffeine. This is not aging. This is simply stress physiology. So when is cortisol necessary? Cortisol is not your enemy. You need cortisol, but you need cortisol at specific times. For example, you need cortisol in the morning in order to wake up. You also need cortisol during your workouts for focus and power. And also you need cortisol for short and intense stress in order to protect you, because it's the hormone of fight or flight. But everything apart from that is simply elevated cortisol during the day and then accumulates over the weeks, months, and years, and you're going to suffer all these mentioned consequences, which are very bad for your health. Now, the good thing is that you can lower cortisol naturally. There are a few things that you can obviously do in order to control cortisol, to lower cortisol, which will be extremely beneficial for your metabolic health. Number one thing is outdoor walking. So anywhere from 40 to 60 minutes, few walks per week, you're going to dramatically lower cortisol and increase nitric oxide production, which is extremely important for your overall health, especially cardiovascular system, because nitric oxide is the molecule which basically makes your artery more flexible, opens the arteries, and helps the blood flow increase, which means that also your blood pressure will go down. You're going to lower your blood pressure. Now, the good thing about walking outdoor is that you can produce more nitric oxide only by breathing through your nose, because when air goes through your paranasal sinuses, this is when you produce most of your nitric oxide, which is extremely good and extremely positive for you. And this is why I have filmed another video which is very, very important for all of you who want to live obviously a healthy lifestyle. And this is the video that you must not miss, is the video on outdoor walking and all the benefits of that. You will have the opportunity to see that video and learn why outdoor walking actually is the most important exercise when it comes to production of nitric oxide, lowering blood pressure, increasing the oxygen consumption in your lungs, and much, much more. As I mentioned, obviously nasal breathing. This is the second way that you can lower cortisol, because it simply creates more nitric oxide and opens blood vessels, which signals the body safety. So once the body is safe, it starts producing less cortisol. So you see, outdoor walking is not only beneficial because of production of nitric oxide for lowering your blood pressure and making your arteries more flexible, but is also signaling the safety environment for the body, and this is when the cortisol drops. Another one, which is very important thing to mention, is that you should not eat very late at night, because when you eat late, just let's say you go to bed at 12 and you eat at 11 or 11:30, that means that your insulin will go up, and when insulin is up, cortisol is up again. So both those hormones are going to make your body store fat during the night. You don't want to do that. So you need to eat, maybe good to eat 2, 3, maybe 4 hours before you go to bed. Also, reducing stimulants as caffeine or similar products that a lot of people use during the day and especially before workouts. So reducing them will help you lower cortisol, because all the stimulants simply keep cortisol elevated hours longer. So it's not just that you're going to get that spike of cortisol when you need it, but those stimulants, because they're very powerful, they can increase cortisol production for hours and hours after you have taken them. Not only like 1 hour, you may continue for hours after that. Another thing is sleep. Sleep is extremely important, because this is when your body drops cortisol naturally. And this is when you burn most of your body fat, because cortisol is down and insulin is down. So all the hormones which actually store body fat, they are down. So the body can completely relax and start burning body fat. Also not burning body fat, but during sleep, this is when you build most of your muscle tissue. And thanks to that natural evolutionary adaptability, we produce growth hormone exactly 1 hour, hour and a half after we get asleep, because insulin is down and cortisol is down. And growth hormone is extremely powerful muscle builder and the most powerful fat burner as well. So imagine how important sleep is. So you need to sleep at least 8 hours every night. Also, you can do meditation by deep and slow breathing, again, via higher production of nitric oxide and lowering blood pressure and also lowering heartbeats. You can relax, and this is very important for people who have time to do it. And this meditation can also be very effective in lowering cortisol. So now you know how to lower cortisol. Now the secret with cortisol is very simple. Again, consider it as a switch. Cortisol on means breakdown. Cortisol off means build up. Fat loss requires cortisol off. Muscle growth requires cortisol off. Healing also requires cortisol off. Life quality requires cortisol off. So you must keep that switch off most of the time if you want to build muscle, burn fat, heal easier, and also have higher quality of life. So let me give you the final message, and this is that you don't change your body simply by working harder. You change it by understanding hormones. Cortisol can be your engine or your executioner. Master it, and your body will respond again. Now, guys, let me also remind you again that I have published 11 ebooks for you. And if you still are not growing or building muscle and not losing body fat as you wanted, the answers are in my ebooks. They're fully loaded with detailed information about everything you always wanted to know about bodybuilding. So if you want to start changing, simply click in the link in the comments, and you can access my ebooks. I would also advise you to watch this video in which I introduce my other services. These are the ways that I can personally help you one-to-one to build the best body you ever had, to build muscle, burn fat. And those services are personalized training programs, personalized nutritional programs, also online coaching, telephone consultations, and for people who live in London, one-to-one personal training. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. That helps a lot. Also, like the video, send me your comments, share the video, and I will see you in the next video.